Hey friends, let me take you through the different phases of the moon and shed some light on the reasons behind it. Every time you look up in the sky at night, you see the moon shining bright, illuminating the earth from its light. Not only that, but the moon also seems to have magical powers to change its shapes and can appear and disappear. You will be surprised to know that the moon doesn't emit light itself, and the moon's light we see is actually the sun's light, reflected off the lunar surface. This sunlight is also responsible for the moon transformation from the new moon to the full moon, and back again under the process we call the phases of the moon. But how does it happen? What is the lunar month? Lunar month, which is about 28 days, is the time the moon takes to make one revolution around the earth. The moon orbits around the earth much like the earth orbits around the sun. However, when the earth takes 365 days revolves around the sun 1 year, the moon completes its orbit around the earth 28 days or about 1 month. You see, as we know, that the moon revolves around the earth at a fixed orbit, and you will see that the moon is never quite the same from one night to the next and doesn't have its own light. So, when the moon is exactly in the middle of the sun and the earth, it becomes nearly invisible in the night sky, as the side facing the earth doesn't get the sunlight. It's called new moon. Now, let's go to the second question in our lesson today. What is new moon? New moon occurs at the beginning of the lunar month, when the moon, sun, and the earth on the same line. The moon phase is completely in shadow, appearing totally dark. As the moon continues to orbit and moves a little ahead in the waxing phase. After 2 or 3 days, sunlight from the sun starts to fall on some of its parts, which makes the moon appear in a crescent shape, in phase called waxing crescent. Now, the third question is, what is the waxing crescent? The moon phase appears lighted and getting bigger. So, what is the waxing crescent? The moon phase in which less than half of the moon phase appears lighted and getting bigger. As the moon continues its orbital journey, the sun's reflections keeps on increasing on the moon's surface, and in about a week, when the sun is in a 90-degree position to the moon, we could see its half-lit portion. This phase is called first quarter. So, let's go to the fourth question in our lesson today, which is, what is the first quarter? About a week after the new moon phase appears the first quarter, where the moon appears as a luminous half circle. After the first quarter, The moon is more than half full and still increasing. Its illuminated surface in the phase we call waxing gibbous. So the fifth question in our lesson is, what is waxing gibbous? Waxing means getting bigger. Gibbous means that more than half of moon's face appears bright. In about 2 weeks after the new moon, it reaches behind the earth, which respected to the sun, and the full side of the moon facing the earth. Yet the sunlight called the full moon. So, what is the full moon? The moon reaches its full moon phases in which it appears as a fully lighted surface. During the full moon is the only time in the lunar cycle when the lunar eclipse can happen, because it is the only time the Earth's shadow could follow on the moon. Now, the next question is, what is the full moon? 2 weeks from the beginning of the lunar month, the moon appears its full moon phase. As the moon continues its orbital journey, it appears to shrink again. A few days after the full moon, the moon will be gibbous again, but this time it's a waning gibbous. So, what is the waning gibbous? Waning means shrinking or getting smaller, and gibbous means that more than half of the moon's face appears bright. At the end of the third week, the moon is in its last quarter, appearing as a half circle again, called final quarter or last quarter. So, at the end of the third week, the moon is in its last quarter, appearing as a half circle again. The half moon shrinks into waning crescent. Now, let's go to the meaning of waning crescent. As we know that waning means shrinking or getting smaller, and crescent means that less than half of moon's face appears bright. So, the half moon shrinks into waning crescent, which continues to shrink night after night until it vanishes completely into the next new moon. Big, bright, and beautiful, different every night. The next time you will come and see the moon in the sky, take a moment and see if you can identify which phases of the moon you are seeing and which one will come next.